Alright, well for my 2,000 point list, I decided to take something a little different than what Alex took in episode 1. I really looked through the models I had available and tried to produce something that was focused towards 8th, and I wanted to play all 4 phases, and I wanted to have some maneuverability, which with Orcs and Goblins isn't always easy nowadays because you have to put a lot of points in your ranks. In 7th edition, you were able to take a few units of fast cav, no problem, because you had the extra points, and now it's hard to find those points. For my center, I took Biggins with a Mork Spirit Totem. I took Shield and Hand Weapon with them, well, Choppa for the +1 strength, and this was the perfect unit to hold my center and also give me some great magic defense. It's really hitty in close combat, especially if I roll well on Guzzla's Battle Brew, which I took on my Shaman. It's you have a 1/3 chance of being stupid, 1/3 of having hatred, and you got a 1/3 of getting frenzy plus hatred. So if you roll that frenzy plus hatred, this unit becomes a total bomb in combat, and even the hatred is really great. Unfortunately, I rolled stupidity for this game, so it was useless. I also brought 2 units of Night Goblins for 3 reasons. The first and foremost reason was having the ranks to break Steadfast. Against Chaos Warriors, the Steadfast isn't as huge of an issue, other than the fact that I want to have it, and I want to have it for as many turns as possible. And with the general leadership of 8, having these guys be Steadfast on a rerollable 8 is very survivable, even against Chaos Warriors. I also have Nets, which are a must-have and are an awesome, awesome upgrade. And 2 Fanatics with my Spears, and 1 Fanatic with my Bow Boys. So I have 30 Spears, 30 Bows. A little bit of shooting, I brought the Stone Thrower. You can't go without it. It is great. It's only 75 points. For some fast-moving, hard-hitting units, I took the Spider Riders, which you wouldn't think are all that great, but they combo well with my spells. And I took 6 Savage Boar Boys and gave them the Shield upgrade and the Spear upgrade. And only 25 points apiece. It's a Strength 5 and 2 Strength 4s per model. They got a 4-up save and a 6-up ward. They're great. I love them.
Unfortunately, you also gave them the Animosity upgrade.
Yeah. I also bought the Leadership Banner, give them +1 leadership, because I figured they were going to go out and do their own thing for most of the game. And I'm glad I gave them that upgrade because it came in handy. For my kind of wild card spots, I took a Giant and... I took Kurt Ferguson, my Giant, and a Goblin hero that I've been taking since 7th edition, and this army is very close to my regular 7th edition army, actually, just with a few ranks added. This hero has Wallopa's one-hit Wanda, which is strength 10s for 1 turn, and he ignores ward saves, and monsters and beasts and cavalry, monsters and steeds and beasts need 6s to hit him, which I thought would be really nice if I ended up taking him up against a dragon hero or hell cannon or something like that. It didn't come into play this game, unfortunately.
Which item is it that makes beasts and monsters hitting on 6s?
Zorga's Collar, and it's only 5 points. It is a great upgrade, especially since this guy is a character assassin.
Yeah, I mean, with the fast movement, the strength 10, and ignoring ward saves, definitely an auto include for 5 points.
For my BSB, I took a Black Orc with the Helm of... God, I forgot what it's called again.
Command?
Helm of Fortune, I believe. It's reroll successful wounds, and it gives you +1 to your armor save. So he's extremely survivable. He's got a toughness 5. He's got something like a 3-up armor save and a 6-up parry, and you got to reroll your wounds against him. Most things are wounding him on 6s, so he's extremely survivable. I love that setup. The only thing I like better than that is Enchanted Shield with the Crown of Command.
Yeah, Stubborn is nice. Gotta love Stubborn.
I also forgot my level 4 is a Savage Orc. I gave him a Power Scroll and Amulet of Protectingness because I figured everything in the game is going to have a better armor save than him. And the Power Scroll was intended for throwing the Law.
And pretty much ensuring it go off with 6 dice. I think
yeah.
You got like a 97% chance.
Yeah, it's
literally
huge.
Literally the only way not to get it on 6 dice is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the only thing you can throw and not get it off.
And Orcs and Goblins have a pretty survivable miscast chart, so I felt okay about it. It's funny, we used to complain about this chart until 8th came out, and now it's suddenly the chart to use.
Yeah, Ogre Kingdoms players say the same thing, I think, now, too.
Yeah, still 1 in 6 chance is something really bad. So we rolled up some spells. I'll let you do yours first, Josh. You have 2 casters.
Yep, my level 2 on the disc rolled up Flickering Fire, which is the signature spell or the default spell. Great signature spell. D6 plus 1 hits at strength D6 plus 1, plus they're flaming. So if somebody happens to bring something nasty and big that regenerates, you're able to get through that regeneration. And I also got Treason of Zench, which never ended up casting it, but a great spell against certain armies. Anything that's got a higher strength than it does a toughness, like Sword Masters in the High Elves army. Will absolutely massacre them. They're hitting themselves on 4s and then killing themselves on 2s. So if you got 20 of them in there, you should be killing 9.
Yeah,
just wipes out half the unit at a go.
Look for anything that has a an uneven strength to toughness ratio. That's great.
Yeah, and it wasn't It wasn't going to be that effective against the orcs and goblins. The night goblins I wasn't really that worried about, and the orcs outside of combat are strength 3, toughness 4, so they're only wounding themselves on 5. So never really bothered casting it. Level 4, I took the signature spell Meow Mix. Got the minus strength and minus toughness spells, the Withering and Enfeebling Foe, and got Pit of Shades for some nice comboing with Meow Mix when I drop somebody's initiative by a bunch and just pull off handfuls of models, no saves allowed.
Yeah, Pit was something I used to be afraid of, but God, anytime you take a level 4 with Pit, you're going to get it off in the game. Whereas in 7th edition, I don't know if I ever saw Pit go off. Maybe once against a Lizardman player. Other than that, it's just I'd save specifically. I'd save save dice or a scroll for that event, and it was hard to get off back then too.
Right. I mean, maximum amount of dice you could throw at it was 5 in 7th edition, and people could take multiple spell scrolls. So unless you got double 6s on 5 dice, which doesn't happen as often as you'd like, then it was getting dispelled.
All right, for my 4 spells. I actually didn't roll all that well. I was hoping to get both Gork's Warpath, which is D6 strength 6 anywhere on the table, and then roll a D6 and see if you get another unit. I didn't roll that, unfortunately. I rolled Wa, Gaze of Mork, Fists of Gork, and get Basham Lads. Real basic rundown of what the spells do. Basham Lads is you get always strikes first and rerolls on 1 unit. Fist of Gork is every model in the unit takes a strength 4 hit, which on a 4+, which is essentially, they get charged by a unit of ghostly orcs. Gaze of Mork is a standard magic missile, D6 strength 4s, and Wa is every orc model on the table. Sorry, not orc model. Every model in your army moves 2d6 towards the nearest enemy and has always strikes first and rerolls for the rest of the turn. And the reason I took the Power Scroll is for that spell exactly. If I get that spell off, I will win the game. I just need to get it off on turns 2 through 4.
Yeah, and if you get it off twice, then you'll really win the game.
Yeah, really. You doubly win the game. So for our table, we use some of my terrain, and we use the Realm of Battle table. I'm not a huge fan of the Realm of Battle table because the hills are just too big, and you can't move them. But it looked pretty decent. So we've got a big long river. We have 2 mystery forests kind of near the center. We have that orc building, which is going to plague my battle reports for a while until I get something better. And we have 4 useless hills in the corners, which really will do nothing but aid in line of sight for war machines.
Yeah, gave my Hell Cannon a nice little home.
In retrospect, maybe we should have used the skull pits or something like that as dangerous terrain, just to add a little more to this table, because terrain-wise, we didn't really have anything going on other than that river, which was a huge, huge, huge change to the game.
Yep.
For the deployments, Josh won the table side, which was very important. As I was saying, that river was huge, and the fact that he won it made it so that his Hell Cannon was going to be safe pretty much the whole game. The Strider rules are pretty useless, and I think GW kind of dropped the ball on them. Strider doesn't ignore movement penalties through terrain. It just ignores the dangerous terrain tests you take. So having something like wall climbers, or even someone who has water strider, they don't move through that river and march. They still have to move through it without the march, which is...
Yeah,
the rivers are huge.
They're just not going to drown now. So maybe you'll start seeing more rivers on the tables, because it really does affect deployment and the movement phase a ton. So my first couple deployments, I took my Hell Cannon, sat it up on that hill in the corner with the river between me and anything. I figured that would slow down any models that were trying to come after my Hell Cannon, but nobody should come after my Hell Cannon because he likes to munch things. And I also put the Warriors of Nurgle to the right of the river.
For my first two deployments, the first thing I put down was my spiders right in front of that forest. I wanted to find out what the mystery terrain was, and I knew I could redeploy them, so it wasn't a big deal. And then I put down my Boyz after he had revealed his Hell Cannon, because I was intending to send those Boyz against it. Although,
plans change.
Plans change throughout the battle.
And so our first mystery terrain, that Citadel Wood, ended up being a Venom Thicket. So any models in there had poison attacks in the close combat phase, and also had to take dangerous terrain tests, which the Spider Riders ignored. I placed my block of Marauders in front of the Hell Cannon just to stave off any immediate charges that Matt might be able to pull. And I put Knights all the way to the right of the table next to the building to set up some nice flank charges. And then I put down my Mark of Zench Warriors right next to the Nurgle guys in between the river.
For my deployments, I threw down my 2 Night Goblin units, and this really felt like a 7th edition game to me. I've played this Orc army through and through, and in 7th edition it was my main army until the very end of the edition, and I really got used to using it as an out-deploying army, and it just doesn't do it anymore because you're not taking a lot of cheap options. So a lot of what I'm used to with the Orcs, unfortunately, doesn't work anymore, so I'm going to have to rethink a lot of my deployment tactics. I was just putting those Night Goblins central to lend their ranks and also set up some favorable fanatics. My final deployment came next, and I've got everything on the table. I have my Goblin and my level 4 together forming a unit with a giant behind them, and then I put my BSB with my big unit of Biggins right in the center as expected.
Oh, and your Stone Thrower was set up opposite corner of my Hell Cannon on your little hill there.
Yeah, just so we couldn't shoot each other, I guess.
Yeah.
And you all you had left was characters at this point.
Yeah, my BSB went in with the, I think the Nurgle marked, or the Zench marked, I can't tell. And the Sorcerer ended up with the other unit of Chaos Warriors. And the Disc Sorcerer just hung out behind the building just in case he tried to throw a rock at me on turn 1.
For my Vanguard movement, I moved those spiders through the woods. They didn't have to take any terrain tests because of Forest Strider. I rolled for the first turn and I won it. I was very excited. Unfortunately, my Boyz and my Spider Riders weren't as excited. They both rolled 1 for Animosity, which was terrible. Before the game, I was really debating whether or not I should put a Black Orc with the Savage Orc Boyz just to prevent something like this. Unfortunately, I didn't. I moved up my Spider Riding Hero alone into the forest, planning on moving towards that Hell Cannon. I moved the Giant around to try to grab a flank, and my central units were kind of bottlenecked between the 2 forests, which both proved to be Venom Thickets. I didn't want to move into the forests because I just didn't want to take those dangerous terrain tests, so I just put those bow-wielding guys in the back. My level 4 moved into the forest and took a wound and failed his ward save, which was pretty unfortunate. During my magic phase, I did nothing, really. I rolled 11 dice.
11 power dice.
And nothing was in range other than I had 1 spell, and that was Gaze of Mort. Cast it and
threw
did
4
nothing.
dice at it, and I dispelled it.
Yeah, there's no way I could cast Wah. It's too early for that. My Stone Thrower was just as lucky, I guess, in its own way. I aimed at the Knights, and if I would have had a direct hit, it would have been bye-bye Knights for the most part. Unfortunately, I rolled a misfire. No problem, right? Rolled a 1. It's gone. Gone. I haven't friggin' fired a shot with it. Gone.
So thank you for those victory points. I appreciate that, Matt.
Right.